all out some playbooks. Sent you all out some playbooks, 3 different ones. One for a sales playbook on how we propose and the easiest way to actually sell the product. Then there's another playbook called the diagnostic playbook, and that covers every single diagnostic that we currently have that is available to anybody. We do have some others, obviously, which are bespoke diagnostics, which are designed specifically for organizations around the world, so they're not included in there. And it gives you a breakdown of where the diagnostics fall into different categories. And then we have a rollout playbook, and the rollout playbook generally explains to you how we should roll it out, how the concierge actually takes over a lot of your functions and a lot of your responsibilities to make your life much easier. So I would value any input from you guys. If you could just spend some time going through the playbooks. I will send you through some new graphics by the end of this week, early next week, that you could actually get copies printed for yourself in country. The files you've got now, I believe, are not print ready. So I'll send you some documents, some copies that are print ready, and you can get copies printed wherever you are. Please have a read through them, make some notes in them, and then please book an opportunity for you to have a meeting with me where we can go through it with you. And just to make sure that we can align everybody, you'll see there's a big change in our branding. We've got a bit of green in the branding now, which emphasizes growth, sustainability, and the way forward. And a lot of effort has gone into changing our branding to move away from being branded as BP2W. And actually, we're going to drive an even better place to work as the brand, as opposed to BP2W going forward. So just remember that when you are busy doing things, we're going to try and stop using BP2W for short. So yeah, I would value it if you would have a look at that information and then just book a time for us to go ahead. Kim, I'm going to hand over to you if you want anything to say, and then Chris can take it from there. Kim?
Thanks, Brian. Just welcoming Chris this morning, or this afternoon, sorry. My days are mixed up. Hi, Chris. Thank you for coming on board and sharing your experience with us today.
Okay, no problem.
And over to you.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I hope that I can bring something of interest to you now. Just for your information, I've been involved with Better Place to Work, an even better place to work as it was originally since 2010 with Shay, and all the way through that journey till now, I've had various engagements in selling it and using it, and I am quite willing to talk about that. In fact, I have some quite strong views on it in terms of where it does and doesn't quite stick. In terms of its utilization and how it would be best utilized if your objective is to get a large footprint of usage across the globe or any sector for that matter. So anyway, I'll share that with you when I share the slideshow in a minute. Yeah, so I'll share this slideshow. Oh, sharing is not turned on, it says. Send request. So maybe a technical issue there. Can I share? Multi-presentation share. Let's see what it does. Yeah, we're in. Good. Okay. Share options. Yes. Okay. Fine. Excellent. Shares. That'll do. We should be able to share now.
Yep.
He says. Are you seeing anything yet? So I'm
not yet. No.
Okay, let's see. Try now.
Okay. There we go. Something. I think
you are now. Okay. Okay, everyone. You can all see this. So strategies for selling training programs to large organizations, approaches to effectively market, sell, and deliver training programs. So this is quite specific. This is about looking at large organizations, and the reason I'm talking to you about this is because I absolutely believe that this is a meaningful way to do something with an even better place to work. Now, in this, I'm going to do this a little differently than normal, just for the sake of you lot not being bored to tears. There's 23 slides in this slideshow, and I'm only meant to be talking for 20 minutes. So by my reckoning, that's far too many. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just really click through very quickly to the point where you probably can't read or see anything of any interest whatsoever. And I suppose I'm only doing that to show you that they are actually there in terms of the number of slides before I get to the point where I get to the conclusion.
That was brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. That's great news. Right. So it won't take long now to wrap this up. There's the conclusion. Now, no, seriously, in all seriousness, the reason I'm doing this is dual purpose, right? When Brian and I talked about doing this, I went away and created a slideshow and started to create a slideshow. And I'm a bit old school, and then I sort of remembered there was something called AI that everyone goes on about, and I thought, right, well, guess what? I'm going to see whether it's as economical as they say it is. So I went and produced this slideshow mainly from AI. Okay. And I got it, and this is it. This is as it is. Yeah, this bit here, the conclusion. And it just confirmed to me what I believed was correct, that AI is absolutely brilliant, but you must check it, and you must apply some human influence to it. So let's say with these 23 slides, let's say 90% of it I totally agree with, and I'm quite willing to stand by what's in the slides. But there's a real point to it that if this was me trying to suggest to you the best way to sell an even better place to work to large organizations, I would say this conclusion is misleading and incorrect in the following way. So first of all, let's look at it. It takes you through this slideshow, takes you through these areas in this order. And essentially it says understanding client needs. Successful sales starts with understanding complex needs of large organizations thoroughly. Okay, there's a number of slides to back that up. Fine. Tailored solutions, offering customized training solutions that address specific organizational challenges and build value. Absolutely. Okay. That may be a progression. 1, 2, 3. Building strong relationships, establishing trust and long-term relationships critical for ongoing partnership success. True. 3. 4. Effective delivery and support, ensuring high quality delivery and continuous support guarantees client satisfaction and retention. This was exactly the way I did start trying to sell not only an even better place to work, but my own services and programs. And what I would say to you is the following, that if you're trying to sell to a large scale organization, it is not the order to follow. The order is number 3, building strong relationships, should be number 1. And then number 1 should be number 2, and number 2 should be number 3, and number 4 should be number 4. And it is fundamentally a different outcome. Why I'm saying this is, in our experience, we have never managed to sell to a large organization without having a relationship first and foremost. So if you have any desire to sell to any scale organization, when I say scale organization, I'm even coming as low as a company with a couple of 100 people in it. Yeah, anything over 150. Your best bet, being who you are as independent providers, it is that you know somebody in those organizations. And I'll be quite blunt about it, that you target people you know, and you approach people you know, and you pick the company and the sector, if necessary, by the person, not the other way around. So you don't say that the company is X size and in sector ABC, for example, because I like sector ABC, or I know they have a bit. So it's in the nuclear sector, for example, because I know that they have a big issue in the nuclear sector with the people. Don't do that. You're better off going to Petrochem if you have a connection in Petrochem. And Brian, just before we were on the, just while we were warming up, so to speak, you absolutely proved my point, didn't you? You know, you're laughing now because you know what you said to me about the people who just got contract because they knew somebody or they worked with somebody, and you yourself know, Brian, recent success about what's happened and how that has come about. And I said to you, if you've not had those contacts through the social network or the wider network, you would never have got to where you got. And I can say that with all honesty, believe you me, because I have tried in that particular example that you're now being successful with. So, point being here, everyone, think about your relationships first and foremost. Okay. Then the next bit, going to number one, which is number two, understanding clients' needs. Absolutely pointless attending a relationship of yours who does not have the people-related need that an even better place to work is absolutely designed to solve. A slight caveat to that is that there are needs that are generic in society, even, or the workplace, that you can be pretty assured that if your contact is a leader in a scale organization, they will be suffering from or connected to, or it will resonate with them. Example being the change of mindset of the workforce since the pandemic is a generic reality, that people are more interested in their individual needs than they are in their organization's needs. And thus, the engagement equation is somewhat skewed these days. So therefore, the conversation about employee engagement is a valid conversation, but the angle might be different. So, for example, now the angle is that the organizations need to find a new norm for employee engagement, because it's not as easy for the organizations to make it clear as to what they want to get out of the equation. And even if they are attempting to make it clear, the will of the working population to accept, for example, growth in shareholder value is much diminished, much diminished. They're not as bought into the brand of the organization as they used to be. And they want something that's relevant to them. Well, in this case, clearly, an even better place to work is, because it's about needs-driven leadership. So it will be, but it's a sell to the company because it's something that's acceptable to the employee population. So okay, there's generic needs that you could latch into, but if you actually know someone in your organization, you only need to take them for a lunch and talk to them, and they will tell you about something that is particularly of interest to them and their organization. And then you could connect to an even better place to work to it quite easily, because it's that generic in that context. And I would advise that. Find your relationship, engage with your relationship to literally ask them the question, what are your needs at this moment in time as an organization regarding your people? And you will get you will get to the start line of the race. This is the point here. This is all as it does. That all I'm saying there is you will be on the start line of the race alongside others. Now, at this point, what I would advocate and suggest to you all is that the ability to tailor solutions is absolutely a modern day necessity. If you can't sound knowledgeable and in vogue for that particular organization, you've no chance. And the reason you've no chance is because the person who you're talking to is probably a leader, is someone who's going to have to go and sell your product, sell or at least sponsor your product in the organization. They have to put their name to it. They have to be able to say, a colleague of mine or a connection of mine has brought to us this employee engagement solution. It's called An Even Better Place to Work. I think it addresses our need for X internally. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for your contact to say, I have a particular need. You explain to me how An Even Better Place to Work supports that need. I can then repeat that to whoever I have to convince. And you're on the starting line plus then, because you've brought a tailored solution to our organization. That makes massive sense then. But be aware that at this stage, all your competitors on the start line of the race will also be capable of tailoring a solution. They will have these skills to ask the questions to unearth the problems. And they will have their own version of a tailored solution. So let's just assume for a minute then we've all progressed in the race, but we're all about even now. And when I say about even, what we've done as independents is we've established ourselves against much bigger organizations who've got to that stage through having a huge repertoire of deliverables, of case studies, of backing, of years of success, of large employee workforce to help them get what they want, etc. Maybe some superior technology, etc. So we're still a minnow in that stage, I would suggest, as independents. The next bit is the one where you can absolutely run away with it. And it is the ability to effectively deliver and support. Now, this may sound a bit counterintuitive in that you would think that that is the big arena of the larger organizations who you may compete against. But it's actually not, because very few, this is my personal experience, very few organizations in our sector are actually truly good at effective delivery and support of their programs and their products. The reason being is a bit historic, in my opinion. It's because pre the pandemic, most large-scale organizations had their own departments, the learning and development department, for example, or their own people who were wanting a product to be injected and then for them to take over and run with it. So the effective support and delivery bit was something that you could sell licenses for psychometric surveys or whatever it was. And then at that point, you'd do some train the trainer with some internal people and off they'd go. What we're seeing so far is now those people are not readily available in organizations. And as such, if you can say to the people, we will hold your hand and we will ensure this is embedded, because they know that that's a question they should ask, how will this be embedded? If you can say to them, we will hold your hands for 12 months and we will get this up and running for you, then that is of key interest to people. And that is how we recently have achieved some of our successes in large-scale organizations by following that order of play, which is not the AI version that's presented to us, but it works for us. And I would advocate any independent provider like yourselves takes that approach to selling to large-scale organizations. Now, I'll accept, and I'd be very interested to hear of different experiences recently or different thoughts on that twist that I'm putting on this. But I have not yet found a solution to it. So does anybody have any questions about that?
I don't have a question, Chris, but I'm fully behind you in the sense that you've got to build strong relationships. It begins possibly with an acquaintance that needs to become a friend. You need to demonstrate your professionalism, B, your experience in delivering the solution that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And to demonstrate that you're with them for the long haul. Now, in my experience, from the point that you engage and open up conversations, it takes a minimum of 6 months to getting them ready to sign anything.
Absolutely.
It can even be 18 months. Because you're obviously in some organizations, you're working with budget cycles that have made commitments from the budgets that they have for learning and development, training, whatever you want to call it. But it takes that time to create some belief in the people that matter, that this is a solution that aligns well with what their organization does. It's going to sit comfortably with the culture that they've created in the organization.
Yeah.
And then, you really start to get to work at it, and having effective delivery and support is the end piece that, it is about delivery. It is about demonstrating you can engage across the organization. And in particular, demonstrating you're not about to walk away.
No. I mean, just on that point, Roger, the retention bit that said there, one of the early points that was made about an even better place to work in the context of becoming a reseller from Shay, originally was the model on paper is brilliant. You sell it to a company and they've got 100 people or 10,000 people. And then 12 months later, they just renew it. And that's no effort on your part and jobs are good, right? As me and Shay always used to disagree all the way through. Like, I used to say, it just does not, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work like that. They don't renew. And if they do, they only do it because of what I call the account management effort that you as the reseller have to put into it. It does not run itself. If you the quickest way for you to damage yourself and the relationship with the person you've built, etc., is to leave it to run itself. Because there are lots of reasons why people, believe it or not, in organizations, the very people you're trying to genuinely help don't want these things to work. There is absolutely categorically sabotage involved in that context. So the probability of any survey process being welcomed by every single person is very limited. And so unless you're there to balance that for the organization, it soon becomes a problem for the organization. Now, the reason why I'm openly saying this for Brian, for example, is that this is also the quickest way to damage the reputation of the company. An Even Better Place to Work, that is, not the provider company. I'm on about the product, the service of Even Better Place to Work. You're better off having fewer high quality, successful 12-month programs than multiple programs that are moderately successful or variable, because that sticks really badly. So, you know, whatever we do, we should respect the product and do it to its best ability, and not be too Puritan in saying it is absolutely faultless, it will solve everything, it will do. That's not true. And you make yourself sound an absolute amateur if you say that. You've got to be open and honest to say that, you know, it will take some effort. A great example is when you're asking people to log on. It's the easiest thing in the world to log on. But I'll tell you what, 90% of the senior leaders do not want to do it themselves, even though the instructions are crystal clear. And they do not want to do it themselves. They want it done for them. Now, if you do it for them and then they see the chart, they're in ecstasy. And they can run around the office throwing it at people and explaining and putting it on the wall behind them in the office and all these things that they do. But if you say to them, it's up to you to sort it out yourself, waste of time. Waste of time. You're doing yourself a massive disservice and you are not getting the renewal. You know, you've got to be tactical about your account management with these people. So on that point, then, to your point, Roger, absolutely. One of the things that notes I wrote in the original presentation was, if you're going to take this strategy, plan well in advance before you expect revenue. This is not a quick fix. This does not happen overnight. So yeah, turnaround time, absolutely 6 to 9 months, Roger. Totally agree. If you're lucky, 6 to 9 months.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah, and longer, much longer, if you're not. Now, a slight way of shortcutting that, by the way, and Brian and I are trying a little bit of this, I suppose, in a sort of strange way, is if you're selling to a large organization and you can reference other parts of the organization who may be completely unknown to the party you're talking to, but it is that keeping up with the Joneses, you know, where you say, oh, they're using it. And all of a sudden, this short circuits quite a bit of the interrogation.
Yeah.
Because it's risk-free, basically. They're not going out on a limb to use this product. Oh, what, you mean it's being used in South Africa? Oh, yeah, it's being used there. Oh, right. Well, you know, we can use it in this region then, if we want. Here's an example. Or a department over the border, you know, literally department to department. So if you've got this knowledge, then you can use it. Now, Brian and I are involved with Siemens, for example. Siemens is a global organization, right? Well, you're all over the world, everyone. Someone's in Canada, someone's in South Africa, someone's where, you know, you've got to say to yourself that there's logic in making that connection. And you can see it on the faces of the people you tell. It cuts out a lot of the first line effort. And maybe, just maybe, thinking in the moment, this is something that we as independents may wish to think about, is say, okay, do you have somewhere where you've made it and we've got a local branch of them, for example, whoever they are? Yeah. But yeah, okay, definitely point valid, massive valid point. Long term, long burn for this. You know, you're not doing it overnight. But again, it does suit an Even Better Place to Work, because most large organizations not, you could go into the boardroom at every large organization in the Western world, at least, and you would not get kicked out for talking about the value of people, stroke the need for the engagement of the staff. No CEO in the world would say that's rubbish, it's not a priority, which is exactly what this is. And to your point about the brand change, Brian, going back to an even better place to work, I don't think is a bad idea, because it does what it says on the tin, to take the Ron Seal advert.
Yeah.
That's this, if someone say, what's that? Well, it's pretty obvious what it is. I might not know how, but it's pretty obvious what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, again, excellent.
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to say, Chris, it's amazing. Every single time that we have one of these sessions, I learn something more from one of my partners. And we spend a lot of time focusing on all sorts of different elements. And we just finished the whole playbook series for all of you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the information, it comes from our partners and what they've told me in our discussions. And you mentioned effective delivery and support. And I just thought, like, I don't. We never ever use that as a key selling point. I don't. We never use, and we've got a concierge team. We've got, there's 3 or 4 people that actually work flat out as support for our brand for anybody who needs it. And we can actually drive the results by actually just letting them do their job and taking it away from the customer. So I made a note of that over there, because I found that it's like, wow, there's another little gem of something that I don't even focus on. I focus on everything else. And you see my comment in the chat, I even at the end of it all, I actually wrote in their delivery, because I thought, wow, that is something that I've got the others sort of lined up, how to anchor expectations. What do I want out of this relationship that I'm going to build? Then build the rapport, which I agree with you. That number 3 should definitely be number 1. You have to use the engage with the people, create the value, and then use your testimonials. And the call to action is the last thing you do. Mm-hmm. But you also have to drive that whole effective delivery and support message, because people don't want to do the work. They want you to do it all. Mm-hmm. And we've got a team to do it. So we need to focus on that. So yeah, thanks for the message.
Just as a cautionary point there for all of us, you have to adjust your business model if you're going to do that, because essentially you've got to be very careful about, Brian, you heard me say this to you, you've got to be very careful about saying it's only X euros a license, and for that you get everything. That's not what you're saying. And Brian, when I don't do that. Mm. So, for example, when I'm selling, I'm not selling an even better place to work licenses isolated out. What's interesting is, in the first time I sell it, first program I do, they don't see it. But obviously, when it comes to the renewal, which I have achieved, by the way,
regularly,
when you get the renewal, then you are down to just it, because by that time they've usually worked out they don't need you as much, and you should be telling them to stand on their 2 feet anyway. But if you can sell a program of work with it 6 or 12 months and just package it for them, again, this avoids a lot of the objection. You see, and I've done this a number of times, if you sell them the outcome of the improvement, for example, in engagement, and you say we will use a basket of tools to achieve this, all provided by our facilitators, for example, well, usually you've sold that, because they're calculating total pounds against the risk or the reward, and they're saying, yeah, okay, we'll commit that of our budget to that subject. And then the next minute they're saying, well, in detail, what you're going to do. And like, as of literally this morning, this is true, this morning, I've left a place, and where this morning I've said to them, and just to let you all know, there will be an engagement survey being issued within the next 8 weeks. And the first results will be available before we meet again on the 15th of October. And okay, Brian, sorry for this. I didn't know what you just said. I said to them, it's called BP2W, but now it's not. It's called an even better place to work. So I'll go back and change it. But the point is, and they're all like, right, okay, what does that cover? I said, don't worry, you'll be having a tutorial with Kate, 15 minutes. All of the leaders will have it, and you'll all know what it means. And you won't have to do anything this time round. We'll do it all for you. And they're all like, oh, right, great. Now, the implication of that is then, and I've told them this, I said, by the way, when we do it, you won't be able to take it away from your workers. And they're like, well, we won't want to. Okay, that's fine, just telling you, just in case. So the implication is, it's in, it's done, it's there. And you've not had to start by selling that, because what happens, by the way, if you do take an even better place to work and start selling the survey, smart people in the room go, well, I can do that on free, on some Word format or something or other, or some, I've got the last time we lost one, they said we had a graduate and we just gave him a program to write an employee engagement survey. That was his piece of work he was given. I mean, that cost them thousands and thousands of pounds more, but in the bigger picture, it was a logical thing for them to do. But if you wrap it up, they can't dissect it and compare it against all the other bits they could do it against. Now, at the end of this, you still achieve the aim of the growth of an even better place to work. Because the biggest issue an even better place to work has had since 2010 is that its footprint is not big enough. What I mean by that is the number of licenses that are out in the world. And you have to get that. It's a competitive market. Any of these surveys or psychometrics, if they don't have a historic name, it's really difficult to sell them. And everyone has their favorite, and everyone rotates. So as I say, behind this there's 22 slides, which offers all sorts of angles to be run at, which I'll send to you all, and you can work your way through them. But my main point is that at the end, if you start to do it in that order, you will hardly ever get to the starting point of the race. The time and energy you will spend in understanding the client, tailoring solutions, practicing your way you're going to present that, pitch it, and all the other bits that go with it, will be a total waste of time and money and effort for the large organisations. Well, it will be anyway, probably. I'll be a bit, yeah, it will be anyway. So.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah. Can I ask a couple of questions, Chris? We obviously know there's a big disconnect since the COVID between the employer and the employees and the mindset and what have you.
Yeah, sure.
And we obviously know that we first of all need to understand the needs of the say the CEO, for want of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any sort of really good questions, probing questions you ask, which helps them figure out in their brain, you know what you're talking about, and they're not a complete noddy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and or they do care about their people or want to care about their people.
Yeah. Here's the best way I've found is, despite, like you've said, what's the question?
Yeah.
It's not to ask a question. It's to tell them about a company down the road, metaphorically. So the way that goes is, well, just let me share my experience with you. Recently, we've been working in an organisation similar to yours. If we can name it, you can. If you can't, you can't. That depends on your relationship with the company. And, they had this problem that I've just referred to that exists in society, whereby the workforce were just coming into work just to get the paycheck, and the biggest interest they had was how far they could stretch the hybrid working policy.
Yeah.
And when I asked them what the organisation's goals and objectives were, that most of them said they didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that point, I am taking a chance, if you want to call it a chance, but it's not a chance, that he or she, CEO in front of me, has actually experienced some of that themselves. And I'll tell you what, if you want a little tip, just say, you know, some of the examples are people can't make it into work because they've got to walk the dog. There's not one CEO, not one senior person I've said that to has not responded by either laughing, swearing, or whatever, but basically agreeing that they have that in their organisation. So therefore, the connection in their head is, oh, are you fixing that problem for them? Right. Talk to me more about fixing the problem for me, please. Right, and that's it, and then you're off.
So
and you're almost past
experience.
Sorry.
What you're saying is share an experience.
Yeah, share an experience. Don't bother asking the question. That's like They don't want to be questioned by providers.
Right. Okay.
They don't like it. CEOs, generally speaking, don't like being questioned by the provider.
Right.
They want service, and they want something they think's special for them. An inside track. They love that. Yeah. You know, if you can in some way suggest that this is going to give them a competitive advantage, or I don't know, make them look good, dare I say, vanity, it sells well. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, great. What you mean I could be ahead of the curve here? Yeah, of course you could. You'll have to be brave, though, because you'll have to do it with all your people, not just a handful. Yeah. And that might I know that might cost you too much. You might not have that in your budget. And it's like, how dare you say I've not got the money to do that? In their heads, that's what they do. And they'll just go, ridiculous, Chris. I can sort that out. Listen, okay, fair enough. Do it. But again, that's sort of starting line stuff and maybe a little advanced into the race. If you're going to do that, that same person will have put their name to it. And if you've started high up the hierarchy, you don't want to be disappointing high up the hierarchy, because as quick as they can like you, they can unlike you. They can friend you and unfriend you in modern parlance, basically, and you're gone. So be sure that if you're going to play those cards, that what you're going to deliver is going to fit for them. And this comes down to that conversation Brian and I have been having, where you've got to be really specific about what it will and will not do, and what we will and will not do for you. And I when I'm talking to somebody, I'm quite brutal about that, in terms of saying, you know, for example, we will get it to this stage, and by then your leaders should be able to work with it. And if they can't work with it, you've got a problem, because this isn't rocket science. You know, most people wouldn't dream of suggesting that their people aren't highly intelligent and brilliant and couldn't grasp the concept of an engagement survey in a few months. But the fact is, by the way, most of them can't. That's another story. Just like. So that's exactly what I you told him. Share an experience, basically. And if you can't share the experience because you don't have it, again, talking about this, you can say that somebody in your network who's another provider, for example, is using this in this organization. And they are. And that's relevant if you're doing it sector by sector. So, for example, there's a great example. If you're selling into the electricity supply industry, and you say that, well, there are companies within the sector like Siemens, for example, who use this type of engagement survey, that's a fact. And it's highly probable that people in the supply chain will absolutely know, because they're a tier one supplier, what they call a tier one supplier. That's it. You know? So if it's like, you know, if you're in the nuclear sector and you can say, oh yeah, I've got a client working on Hinkley Point C,
Mm-hmm.
and they're using this model. If that's true, then you've got a reference point in the nuclear field.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Right. Anybody else? Nobody else got any questions for us? Nope.
Great.
All right. Well, look, Chris, thank you very much. I think I've learned a lot. I always learn on these sessions, and that's why I really encourage everybody to always join them.
Yeah.
Brian, can I ask a quick question? I think I
Yeah,
was
you
on
may.
mute.
Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Chris, I was curious, in your efforts to target a new prospect or a new potential company that you might go over. You mentioned earlier you're not so much working with industry sectors. You're trying to specifically maybe identify a professional where you can build a relationship with them and get to know them and have some discussions and so on. Is there any suggestions, tips, or recommendations on how you approach that? Like, how do you identify a target that you might go after, or you feel in our work, like I've had some conversations with Brian about that. The initial focus of our business was centered around employee retention, a growing problem in many organizations, and it's directly related to these people issues and people needs that aren't being met. But so you research what companies maybe or what industries are having problems with retention and use that as a target board. But I'd be curious how you approach the individual versus maybe the industry or the company.
Well, so just to go back around it's absolutely the opposite is what I would advocate. So the point you're making is about retention in a general sense being an issue in a certain economy or certain location. If you know that's a given fact, you can see it in the papers every day, or everybody sort of generically knows it, then I wouldn't put myself in that bucket of a provider of those solutions, because it's how can I put it? It's common knowledge, and everybody will claim that they can provide solutions to retention or attraction. I would park that, i.e., what I do or what I deliver, and I would just literally find a contact of mine that was either a first contact of mine, like I've met them, I used to work with them, I'm associated, I go to the football club with them, I know them, somebody like that, who was in a position that was in a company that was likely to have experienced retention problems. So that's right at the back of the queue what I do. So employee engagement here is the arena for the satisfaction at work survey. So I'm putting that to the back of the queue in the conversation. First of all, I'm finding the ex-colleague or the ex-contact. Now, if I don't have any, to take your point, if I don't have any, then it would be referral. It would be through a network. And you only have to use LinkedIn to find that. So you've all got connections on LinkedIn, I know you have. So if you look at the connections on LinkedIn and you find, your most closest ones, and you ring them up and you say, Dave or Janet, you know what business I'm in. I'm looking for somewhere where they're likely to need my services. Who do you know in a large scale organization comparable to your organization or bigger than your organization or in your supply chain? And could you give me a referral to them? And then that referral is for just a conversation to inquire about the challenges they're facing usually. And your starting point might be the generic statement that, you're well aware in our country, retention's a problem, or the scarcity of skills is an issue. Is that affecting you in your organization in the way that it seems to be affecting everybody else? And, if you've done it right, the answer's bound to be yes. And then the follow on from that is, oh, well, interestingly, I was working with a company down the road, ideally competitor of yours or in your sphere of knowledge. And we were using this as a solution, and, you know, we're trying to broaden the benefits of it. You know, would you be interested if you're going to be that quick? Well, I wouldn't advocate that speed. I'm talking about over a period of time. But not so the difference here is in targeting terms, you're not generically starting with I am an employee engagement expert or I am a whatever expert. You're not starting there. Your targeting is based on just who you know. Or who knows you, whichever way around that might be.
Okay, thank you.
Just another quick one on that is if you see someone moves a job, that's a great opportunity. If you on LinkedIn, for example, if you see someone pops up and they say, I've started this new job and they've moved companies and their job is clearly meaningful to your area. You know, promotions are classic for me, with a leadership coach, you know. You see people who've got promoted. I announced this promotion or this transfer for I've become the CEO of this company from last company. And just drop them a line, congratulate them. And if, you know, it depends how close they are, they'll say to you, what are you up to? Are you still alive, Chris? Yeah, I'm still alive, yeah. What are you doing? You know, or whatever they say to you. So, but it's not, this is my product, is my point.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, some great ideas. Thanks, Chris.
I think some great learnings from today's session. I know Kim is going to finish it off for us, and we'll get a video of this out to all of you as soon as possible. Thanks all for coming, guys. It's really great to have a good crowd on the session, and it is shared out to all the other partners who comment to me directly sometimes as well, which is it means people are reading it and listening to it and watching it. So thanks very much for attending. Kim, it's all over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for everything, Chris. Was
no problem.
Great learning. And our next session will be on the 2nd of September with Jonathan Lowe from Malaysia. He's a 5-star speaker. So that should be very interesting. And we'll see you then. Have a great afternoon.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.